Rob, thank you so much for emailing me and sending me your video and also your Maya file. That made it really helpful for me to be able to figure out what was happening with your file. Okay, I also appreciate how much effort you put into it, looking up in the help menu and things like that. It really makes it better for me to know that you've made some effort in trying to figure out your problem. Okay, fortunately, it's not that hard of a problem, and I did recognize it as soon as you showed me your file. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate what has happened with this cube here, or with this plane. Okay, so one thing that made it really helpful for me to know what was wrong was because you had this button selected here. Okay, when I press that, it shows the border, the UV borders. Okay, so just like you were trying to do, if I select an edge and use the cut tool, once that edge is cut, this border right here is a lot thicker. Now I can use the UV shell tool and move the shell. Okay, and this was the problem you were having. You weren't able to move that. Well, what I noticed was that your your UV shell looked like this. Every every edge had been cut. So when you went to move a shell, it considered every polygon to be an individual shell. So they're all now broken up, which is really annoying, definitely. And it was something that you did on accident. It wasn't something you did on purpose, and it's just because I think they all became the same thickness, you didn't maybe notice that it was a problem. Okay, and so over here we have a thicker, all the lines of the edges are thicker. Okay, now if I went to edge tool and I selected, pressing W, select these, go to edge, select these edges, and I use the move and sew, it will start to move these back together. Okay, now with this plane, it makes a little bit of sense, but if we move on to your pig, it will get a lot more confusing as to how we bring this back together so that it's all one shell. The parts that we need is one shell. Okay, so let me just show you how to do that in the simplest way I can think of. Okay, so we select your pig, and at this point it looks pretty harmless, but then when I just turn on this button, and you can see the thickness changing, which means that all of the polygons are now separate. They're their own shell. So if I select this, that's why it's only selecting one section of your foot, is because it's broken them up. Okay, and again, one way to fix that is to switch to the move tool, switch to edge mode, and I can come in here and select all of these and press move and sew, and it has sewn those back together. Okay, and with this foot, this will probably be a decent way to do that. I missed one there. Okay, but with the rest of your character, let me show you another method, hopefully that's simple enough, that will fix this. Okay, so how we do that is you go into the 3D view and go to face mode. Okay, and then you select the faces of the specific areas, like this is just the arm, and then I'm going to create a new projection. We had originally, this file started out with a projection, but so to make the projection you go to, I've got to switch this from animation to polygons, then I go to create UVs and planar mapping options by clicking on that square. Then I want this to be from the front, and the front is in the Z direction. Press Z and then press project. Okay, doing that creates a new projection of that arm, and now there are no seams. It's all one unit. Then we can bring back those seams that we wanted going around the side by going to the edge mode, double clicking it and cutting it. Now around the border we have the edge the way that we want. So I can move this now, select it, flip horizontally, go back to edge mode, pressing W, go to edge mode again, and then select them, move and sew them, then select the shell and smooth it, and back to the normal process. Okay, so again, to create the projection, you have to be in the 3D mode, or over here in the 3D view. You select the faces that you want. So I've selected all of these faces. Then I go to Create UVs, Planar Mapping, and choose Z-axis and Apply. Okay, that will create a new UV shell. Okay, and then I can move this shell out of the way. Okay, now by double-clicking this edge to cut this seam again, I do need to remember that it's going all the way around and it's cutting, like it will cut this line here. And it's now cut a line in there. And so I could have just gone around and just selected the edges around this arm to avoid that. Or now I can go to edge mode, select these edges by press W to select these edges. And I think in UV mode this actually might work, to press move and sew. Okay, it did. So I moved and sewed it. This over here, I could select these as well. Move and sew. Okay, but now I have this cut shell. I flip the red one, and I actually don't need to move that. I could just select it here, press W to select it, and move and sew. Then select the shell and unfold. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful and it helps you get your project done. Thanks again for being an active student and emailing me your questions, and good luck in getting this project done. Thank you.